We are exploring the AI Rainforest, a space where we discuss a variety of intersecting topics like large language models, use cases, AI agents in Web3, reputation, and the innovative businesses and people at the forefront of this burgeoning space. Each episode features an expert in their field who shares their thoughts and opinions with us. Welcome to another episode of Exploring the AI Rainforest. Today we are exploring it with Saushank. Saushank is a founder and builder operating at the intersection of artificial intelligence and blockchain technologies. He's developing PitchPilot, an AI-driven platform designed to provide instant and affordable feedback to help founders refine their investor pitches anytime, anywhere. I haven't even tried it yet. I'm already a big fan. This sounds terrific. Saushank is also a really active voice on X, where he shares his insights on the evolving landscape of AI and crypto. He's commented recently on the cooling hype around crypto and AI, emphasizing the need for projects to deliver tangible value beyond speculation. Not something I couldn't agree with more. Saushank, welcome to Exploring the AI Rainforest. Thanks for your time today.
Super excited to be here, Derek. I think much needed podcast for the space. So congratulations on starting this, and hopefully you have many more of these
Thanks.
episodes.
I hope so too. It's been fun so far. We're still early, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a it's a nice way for me, especially to explore this intersection, all these uh, new
Right.
founders, new teams that are building incredibly
Yeah.
new new stuff for people to wrap their
Totally.
heads around. And obviously, this is a great way to kind of sit back and absorb the information without having
Yeah.
to strain yourself too much. So uh,
Yes.
let's get into your journey into the intersection of AI and
Sure.
blockchain. I think it's pretty fascinating. You came highly recommended from
Yeah.
one of Zeru's founders that we should talk to you. What inspired you
Sure.
to explore this confluence, and how has your background influenced your approach now to building what you're building and some of the comments you've been making on X and elsewhere?
Sure. So quick backstory. Actually, I discovered ChatGPT. It was called OpenAI in I think 2019 or 20, when they had this really private beta kind of thing happening, and they had this cute chatbot called Marvin who would always give you sarcastic comments. If you give him, "Hey, what's the day looking like?" he would give you a sarcastic comment. So I started playing that and then exploring stuff around on what does API do and stuff. So I wasn't really a coder, but because I had done a fintech business, so I had a sense on okay how these things work. So at that point also I found it really fascinating, like some of the stuff they were doing, which is really early journey of OpenAI was very cool and interesting. Um, and then so when ChatGPT actually came in, uh, it was for me like an aha moment, seeing because I'd seen it earlier, and like 2 years down the line or 1 year down and a half down the year down the line, I think something comes up which is so ahead and so fascinating. So that's what I think kind of made me sit back again and think, hey, what's happening in this space of AI? And I was always there in crypto, so it was kind of natural to think around on various ways in which these two technologies could intersect. And to me, I think probably crypto will have its PMF. One of the reasons why it will have its PMF is because of AI. So one of the examples I keep giving is, suppose you have tons and thousands of agents which can do work for you. Uh, how do you kind of employ them or work with them? Because there's no human person behind them. It's just an agent living on a cloud and stuff like that. And so naturally, smart contracts become the answer. Like, for example, if you go to an agent and say, hey, I want you to review my Twitter feed or my Twitter post and give me suggestions around that, and you can put this in a smart contract saying that, hey, if the agent does this work over a period of time and then within this time frame, I will pay this money to the to the agent. And so that's kind of taught me that okay, we are going to more and more interact with these agents and versions of AI, and which can intuitively decide on blockchain rails. So that was, I think, the intersection point for me. And PitchPilot was a slightly different kind of experience because being in crypto, running this quant fund, and just being early on, you get, I would say, a lot of chance to speak to founders and kind of help them, guide them around like what's happening. And one of the things which consistently came up was uh, how do founders get feedback on what's the right narrative, what's the story to tell to a VC, how to get advice from right founders. And it's incredibly hard for a founder to do that. Like even if you know someone, simply because of their schedule and stuff, you can take 1 week, 2 weeks just to reach and book a call with them, and then follow-ups are really hard. So that's why I think we started to think that, hey, is it possible to think about these personas as someone who has enough public information? So you know a lot about them, and then can we narrow them to certain specific tasks? Like you could have a looks like one of the agents which is live on our portal is an associate who works at a VC firm, but and you can practice only your introduction with them because that's how the agent is designed and thought through, and it's a very narrow segment. So you go and speak to one agent about tokenomics and go to market and community and introduction, then the agents will hallucinate for sure. Like this is not human still. So that's where I think the idea of Pitch Pilot came in. Uh, and so I kind of quote unquote vibe coded it for I think 1.5 months, and it was super fascinating. I actually wanted to test another hypothesis, saying because I would keep on giving advice to founders that, hey, why are you having such large engineering teams? Like you should be using these tools, and you should be like reducing your team size by 50% or um, and then I said, okay, before I kind of keep on saying this, let me try to actually use this and see if it is legit or am I just saying random things. So that's
Right.
why that's another motivation to build this out, and it's super fun. I think it's incredibly powerful tools. I think in the hands of right developers, right teams, I think it just changes the game in which products are shipped and things can be built.
Okay, so I have a couple of follow-up questions.
Yeah,
You mentioned discovering OpenAI's first kind of sarcastic bot uh,
yeah,
a few years even before ChatGPT was released,
yeah,
which was based on I think the ChatGPT 3 model
yeah, yeah,
or 25, something like that. So you're experiencing that a couple years or a few years before most people, probably
yeah.
99% of people had even heard of OpenAI. I do remember Sam Altman from Y Combinator. I
Nice.
keep up with tech news, broad tech news quite a bit. So I remember when him and Elon started it and all
Yeah.
that. So that was so for me it was cool recollection. But a few years before that, there was Tay from Microsoft,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
that failed spectacularly. But I'm wondering if you got a chance to interact with Tay for the short time that she quote unquote was online on Twitter at the time.
No, no, I didn't have any chance. I again I heard about this, but somehow didn't get a chance to interact. Actually was not that active on X, to be honest. Before Crypto Kingdom, like you would go and
Right.
see for news and stuff, but not really that active. So yeah, I kind of
Okay.
missed that out.
I think I've been on it for almost 20 years at this point. So
Oh, yeah.
I've seen it change hands and ownership. I've seen it go public, go private, go whatever. So I've
if,
been around the
if
block.
if they had airdrop points, they actually would have been
Oh man,
killing
if
killing it.
X had an airdrop, I stand just by virtue of being on the platform as long as
Exactly.
I should get a decent
Very, very decent.
allocation. Elon, if you're listening, please don't forget me. Anyway, okay. Besides that, um, I'm curious what. So I haven't done it yet, but I just wrote to you on X earlier. Like this looks
Yeah,
awesome. PitchPilot looks terrific. I really want
yeah,
to try this. Is that you were mentioning how you think a lot of the interaction will be through smart contracts? Is that
yeah.
why the homepage says connect wallet, not sign up with email, log in with X, etc.?
Yeah. So the way the workflows, and I think it was again during the journey of building this, I realized I think for kind of the power of smart contracts per se, and I will give you examples on how this works. So the first thing when we kind of make the prompt or for the agent or the agent itself, a lot of its metadata regarding the price feed, how much duration, maximum duration can you have this call, all these things are on smart contract, which means we don't control necessarily the agent behavior. It's on smart contract, so it's immutable in that sense, right? And the other interesting thing, what does that from a business perspective is, I don't really have to build an analytics table to figure out which prompt is being used how many times. I just need to do a Dune dashboard saying that, hey, this prompt is being used enough number of times, or this is the revenue which is earning. Makes my life so much simpler. I don't have to do any analytics. The
Right.
second example is the whole, once you start the call and you have to kind of, let's say the call is at $1 per minute and the maximum limit is five. So you have to deposit $5 in an escrow amount. And then if you, let's say, stop the call after 2 minutes, you will get your $3 refunded back. Or if there is, for some reason, the LLM models don't return the response, you get all your refunds back. Now, imagine that if we had to build this in a centralized manner in a database, we would have to have so much time building an engineering team, just looking at payments, refunds, etc., etc. And today, that's handled by one single smart contract. It just updates everything and works absolutely smoothly. So, I think so. So, what I realized was that a lot of these interactions which are happening by putting them on chain, you make your shipping actually faster, and also you make it more robust. Like I don't really have to care that can my payment system handle 10 people or 1,000 people or 100 people. As long as base works, my payment system is extremely robust. I have to probably handle something at front end, but my back end is super robust. And uh, and then tomorrow, I think because data is on chain, you can create very interesting loops on top of it. Like tomorrow, uh, if this one agent has a very steady revenue stream, can we monetize it? Can we tokenize it? Can this agent be sold to someone? Like someone can say, hey, I'm actually, let's say if there's an incubator which comes and say, hey, these pure agents really look interesting to me. I want to modify them. Can we have a revenue share model? Because it's a smart contract, it's super easy for us to do that. And you have wallets which verify who owns these agents. So those kind of mechanical mechanisms, I think, look very interesting for us. I think still very early days. We are also experimenting with a lot of fun stuff. So yeah, but that's the idea. Like it just makes, I would say, a lot of operational headache go away. But having said to your point, I think once you're building, you don't realize it, but once you have launched it, you can see the stuff which can be optimized. So, for example,
Right.
email login, you let's use why not use Privy for login so that users don't really uh, think about wallet creation. It's wallet is created using Privy. Is there a
Mhm.
way for us to reduce the contract interactions, like one like with the recent EIP which has come in 7022, you don't need to approve and confirm the transaction. You can do it in one go, so you can make it simpler. So I think there's definitely uh, and that's the path I think I want to take, where we make it more and more friendly for any normie to come in with abstracting out the blockchain experience, because this is a use case which I mean we start with crypto, but it can go anywhere. Like why not a Web2 founder practicing for a Web2 VC fund? I think it's a
Right.
fairly good use case, but I don't think I should expect them to use MetaMask or OKX wallets and load USDC. I think but yeah, that's the journey. I think we'll probably see that.
Yeah, no, I definitely see how that could play out. Yes, it would be nice if people didn't have to have a pre-existing wallet, I guess,
Yeah,
or for whatever reason, if they want to separate the two, I don't have to worry about making a new wallet or connecting a different wallet, or just log in with my make a new
exactly.
wallet just for this purpose, and it's almost like a burner
Yeah,
at the end of the day. Um, you're probably already thinking about this, but and you mentioned potentially like a revenue share. I guess you could potentially be at a point even now where there's so much information or so much public being said by certain investors, Jason Calacanis, Peter Thiel, um,
Yeah.
the guy who owns the Dallas Mavericks, his name, Mark Cuban, etc., and certainly
Yeah.
many in the crypto space, where you could actually potentially build a model around what they've said in the past matters to them, how they evaluate their investments,
Sure.
feed a tier one Silicon Valley Web 2 VC. That's that
Yeah.
persona. And then, like you said, you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
pitch just to the associate, to some mid levels, and then maybe even to like partners. Is that kind of the progression you're
Yeah.
thinking of? And then, therefore, does it get more expensive as you reach that core person you actually want to pitch?
So we have I have a slightly different lens on looking at this, and this is what, like, once you explore the platform, you will figure out. I think so. The way we kind of separate our agent personas is in three sections. One is your generic persona, like the associate I talked about, because information of for an associate who is at a VC firm is pretty generic. You don't have to, like, there will be a different, slight difference between one associate at, let's say, Sequoia versus Lightspeed, but pretty much you can say, okay, they will behave in a similar manner. So you have one set of those, I would say, agents. The second is where we kind of just pick up the public information and make an agent for a specific purpose. For example, we did one for Luca, we have one for OSF, we have one for Sandeep. But these are very specific. Like Luca, you'll get a very bad response if you speak to Luca about token economics, but it is designed more for brand and NFT. And OSF is for like degen stuff and how to build consumer brand. Sandeep for infra. So, and this is like, we don't this is like built all on basis the public information we have, their YouTube posters, their podcasts, the Twitter which they have put. We just feed everything in to get
Right.
details. And the third category is what we call as verified personas, where we actually take this prompt, these agents, and go to the real person and ask them to play with it and say, is this mirroring you, or is there something which you think you actually think more of? Is there, it is has to be indexed slightly on some aspect, something on less, and then that's the verified person. And the verified persona is probably is more expensive. Like other stuff is $1. The other, this verified persona is $2 because it's more legit. And the interesting part on this verified persona is once we have made this prompt, we transfer the prompt to the very persona itself, so that all the revenues will start going to that persona, and we will just a platform fee. So it's like, it's your persona. You can keep on iterating. You can making it better, but you still have this small revenue stream coming for you. So I think that's how I want to think. Like I want to, um, as much as possible, keep it ultra cheap for founders to try and experiment this out. And to be honest, I think considering the rate at which the cost of models is going down, I think even at $1 we make money on each call, and I think that will expand itself. So because yeah, it's just that the compute cost is going down every
Yeah.
day.
Okay. Yeah. Ultimately, I guess it depends on how much the verified persona might want for each
Yeah,
minute, how what of
yeah,
conversation, and then ultimately, yeah, the inference costs. So the cost that actually takes to run the models, ingest data, spit it
exactly.
back out for people who don't know. You're not training a new model every day. You're doing the inferencing side of things. And yes, from what I hear, that
Right.
continues to drop in cost every more or less every new model that comes out. There's usually like
Yeah,
a bigger version, like Claude 4 Opus just came out. Opus
yeah,
is a little bit
incredible.
more expensive.
Yeah,
Sonnet is less expensive. They're better at two different things, but
yeah,
if you have one specifically trained on take in this pitch, respond to this pitch, you can make that really, really tailored, probably a much smaller model,
yeah,
and therefore should be a lot cheaper to run.
yeah. Yeah, exactly, exactly. And a lot of it is also fair bit of prompt engineering, because you can have a great model, but I think how the persona will behave, how broad it you want. Like for example, if you want a persona to speak about brand and NFT, so you have to put very strong guardrails saying that, hey, if someone asks you token economics, you have to kind of respond saying, I can probably help you later, but let's focus on brand and NFT. So I think those kind of cute guardrails you got to put in there.
Okay. So you've mentioned the cooling hype around crypto and AI. In your view, what factors contributes to that
Yeah,
trend, and how can projects, companies, teams maintain relevance and actually deliver real value? Because that's why I got into this space 7 years ago. I was not here for
yeah,
pump up, drop down. Okay, hopefully get rich and then move on. That's boring.
yeah.
I've been in this space for this long, still not rich because I'm trying to help other people build really cool stuff.
No, I think uh, what I think AI is kind of doing is, and this is general, I think meta theme is it's just making everyone more intelligent and smarter. So your ability to bullshit is kind of going down. So today, if there's a project, I think you can just put their X and website on any of those models and ask them to do analysis. How much of this is legit or not?
Right.
Uh, if they have some private, they have GitHub and which is slightly more open. They have like most projects will give out a README file and stuff like that. You can just put that GitHub out and the actual product out and say where does this stand. So I think there's a um, I think we sometimes underestimate the intelligence of market. I think market generally is a very reasonably intelligent being. So I think that is definitely coming. That market is kind of figuring out that what is not great, what is good. I mean, there will obviously be moments of speculation and people will make money, but I think that category is clearly coming. And the other thing which is also emerging is like the expectation from market is also significantly higher. Like you can't. I was just reading someone, a VC, Web2 VC based out of Bay Area, and he said that the whole concept of pre-seed and seed deal is gone because you can't really. I mean, you would give a pre-seed deal or seed deal to build something. You have an idea or a basic concept you want to build that, and you're saying that is gone because now your question is why are you not building it? You don't need pretty much any money to do
Right.
this. Like if you have hustle, you just need a couple of folks to just sit together, use agents effectively, use cost effectively, and you can build a product, whatever you need. So I think that's the other theme I would say. I think some teams and crypto markets are generally realizing that because of AI, the bar to launch a good product has become really low. So you can't go out and just give out a random product. I think you have to build better products, better experiences. Yeah, and I think in between, of course, markets being markets, some things will blow up, some things will not blow up. Those things will keep happening. Uh, but I think to be honest, it's a great time to be a builder. Uh, like you I honestly like when I advise teams and projects, I really like I'm not able to figure out if you're an early stage project. I think 3-member team, you don't need too much money to do this for a year, man. You just pretty much just you don't need to hire too many people. You can pretty much automate everything around that and then just go from there. So yeah, just little bit hustle, little bit capital, and I think you can very quickly iterate stuff around, which is what I think is slowly happening in crypto, but I think yeah, it will eventually come there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've been trying to take advantage of a lot of these new tools, even just to have fun, just to try
Yeah,
things out, see how it
yeah,
goes.
absolutely.
Is it perfect the first time? Probably not.
No, no,
Can you tweak your prompt, like you said, get into some prompt engineering, think about like, okay, well, if I was in a designer's position, a developer's
yeah,
position, what more information would I want? And if you're not the type of person who even understands that process, then you can actually tell the model, the agent, whatever, you are this, you are a front
yeah,
end developer, you are a professional UX designer with 10 years of experience.
oh,
I need to do this. Ask me all the questions I need to answer in order for you to build it a really
yeah,
good V1 or V2 or MVP, minimum viable product, whatever. And it'll actually, or at least ChatGPT and Claude will actually boom, 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 walk you through the steps. And that's usually how I make sure that I'm actually thinking through all the different things that I'm probably not thinking through at the beginning. Because like,
yeah,
I am trying to build my own RWA projects. and I've already shared that with
Yes.
some people. I'm not gonna shill it here. It's not what this is for. Do I have a pretty good idea of all the things I need in order to make that happen? Yes. Do I know every single little thing about the real estate industry? No. So, especially on the commercial side of things. So,
Yeah.
I tell the model, you are, a business advisor, a realtor, whatever. Here's what I'm thinking of doing. What am I not thinking of? What have I looked over? What sorts of things, would you want to know from me? Here's 10, 15, sometimes 25 questions
Yeah.
categorized.
That's
Um,
crazy. Unbelievable.
and it's incredible. And again, is that perfect? No. Is it a heck of a lot further and faster than I could get on my own, even after hours of researching and reading articles and laws and stuff? Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
for
it's
sure.
maybe it's forcing me to think through the full business model, giving me insight into other people's business models because to help me figure out, like, how do I make money at this thing. um, and then really forces you to think through all the potential consequences, and then often says, like, do you want me to put you in touch with XYZ consultants, lawyers, realtors, etc.? Yes, give me some lists. Don't make phone calls, but, like, obviously, but, like, give me some lists, give me some email addresses, show me their websites, whatever. I'll start reaching out. And at least as an accelerant, it's incredible for that. And as everything, I think, starts to get more tailored to specific use cases, in that way, I think it's going to be even more incredible. And that's in a lot of ways more exciting than the general models.
Yeah,
But I know, or at least from what I've heard recently on other podcasts and stuff, you need the general model, generally speaking, in order to train
yeah.
the
Smaller ones, yes. Yeah.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I read
Yeah.
a great. I know just someone spoke about, like, I was always thinking, like, wrap my head on, is there a good mental model to think about how software development and all these things will happen? And this person gave a very good line. He said, uh, in future, I think software will not have bugs; it will have misunderstandings. Uh, that's like incredible line. That's a great mental model to have. Like, and then you
Yeah.
get fits and everything, right? So if you can make the prompt understand well, you're pretty much done.
Yeah, no, and I think that would be a great place for us as humanity to be in, where,
Yeah.
I think probably since the late 90s, definitely the early 2000s, I think anybody in product management, software engineering, front end, back end, doesn't matter. I think everybody knows what they want. It's
Right.
just really hard
Yeah.
to traditionally go through the requirement definition process, like, or, what
Right.
we need to define our requirements, we need to define this, blah blah blah. But we've been doing it for so long now that I think there will always be room for improvement, but we can get through that process way
Yeah.
faster. You could
Way faster.
literally have 50 people in your company all chat with the same model. That model should be able to then ingest all that data, come up with all the must-haves and the common nice-to-haves, and then you feed that into a different model, and it actually designs all the, does all the wireframes.
Yeah.
Let's look over the wireframes. Let's make sure that that's what we want. Yes, cool. If not, fine. Go back and refine it.
Right.
And then obviously once you're done through there, then you could say, well, like, we need a light theme, we need a dark theme. It should change during depending on time of day. And here are the brand colors, make it complementary. Great, go. It's just, obviously there's another one handling all the back end,
Yeah.
the in Python or Node.js or whatever.
Okay.
So it's, yeah, I've seen some incredible prompt engineering results on X over the last few months, and I just wish I had more time to do it. And
Yeah.
so,
Exactly. Like, that's what I've been saying to everyone which I meet. Like, why are you not building? Like, what's stopping? Like, whatever idea you had, at least try it and give it a shot. I mean, mostly it will not work. That's okay, but at least you will feel happy that you gave it a shot. and
Right.
and then you went through this whole process of doing this. Maybe in the process you discover that maybe it was not a great idea or you didn't want to do it. But at this point, I think if someone is not building, I think it's just like yeah, they are just not utilizing their potential. I think you have to build. Anyways, I mean, it's not just about building means code, but whatever you want to build, you want to build something on X. There is a way for you to get better using agents and models. I don't want them to write that for you, but you can give them inputs. You can design your workflows in a way better manner.
Yeah. So this is a space. Crypto is also a space with incredibly fast
Yeah.
evolution. AI especially, but crypto before we are. I've noticed before, and other people have as well, that we are literally speed running TradFi's history
Yeah.
for crypto.
Absolutely.
It's only since like 2014 we've gone through like probably about 300 or 400 years worth of TradFi's history, hitting the same kind of roadblocks, and then overcoming them
Right.
again with in our own way, or the Web3 way, the Web3 version of the way traditional finance did it. Um, there's a new model every other day. It feels like I just discovered something called Kilo Code, which is like fully open source version of Microsoft Visual Studio or something along those lines. And I'm like, hey, this is
Uh,
super cool. But like,
Crazy.
how do you stay ahead of some of these trends and make sure that even for some of the projects you're advising, like what the advice you're giving is still current and relevant?
Uh, so this is, I think, something I learned from, I think, crypto days also, and I think similar mental model. Like, I think if you understand the first principles really well, so you can very quickly figure out uh, what are the big changes and what are the, I would say, delta changes. And big changes, obviously, they still happen at a very rapid pace, but they don't happen that often. Like, to give you an example, if LangChain releases a new way of creating some agent workflow, that's a delta change. But LangChain writes a new language or new library so that you can orchestrate memory in a better manner in agents. That's like a fundamentally big change. So, and then so if you have, I would say, and if one has a clarity on, okay, these are the 5 6 components which I would say are really big things. Like memory is a big thing, inference is a big thing, base models getting efficient are a big thing. How are the APIs getting exposed, and like prompt engineering is a big thing. So I think I kind of try to see that, okay, these 5 6 things are very critical, and so I would try to keep an eye as much as possible on the big boys announcing and what's happening there. And for the, I would say, the delta stuff, which is products being built on top or applications being built on top. I think it's subscribe to a few newsletters which do a decent job of covering what's happening. But to be honest, like that's just impossible. I think just being, if you're lucky enough to be surrounded by people like you and other people, then I think you can just vibe and check, hey, this is what it is, and this is interesting. But I think what I've seen is that I keep bouncing off to these new tools, but eventually I come back to probably ChatGPT or Claude. I think somehow I kind of go here, go there. It looks cute, looks interesting,
Yeah.
but I think to their credit, I think Perplexity, ChatGPT, Claude have done an incredible job on retention. I think we just, even after all that, you just still go back there, kind of.
Yeah, I pay for both, and I also pay
Yeah,
for
same.
it's a service called Sintra, which is probably named after Sintra in Portugal. But it's supposed to be like a bunch of more refined models, fine-tuned models
Oh,
based
nice.
on what you're asking for. So like there's your assistant that is specifically for sales, and your assistant that's specifically for CRM, or for
Nice.
yeah, I guess CRM, one just for social media, only social media. It doesn't write blog posts, stuff like that. I need to spend more time with it. I'm on a discounted plan, like a lifetime discounted plan. So I'm okay paying for it and not using it that much. But I do need to spend more
Right.
time with it
Yeah.
and actually figure out like I know in my heart of hearts like this is the best way to go. But like you said, Claude
Right.
is so good. ChatGPT is so good. And they excel at different things, and of course they have different models that excel at different things. And that's kind of getting a
Yeah.
little bit easier to figure out too, like when should I use it,
Yeah.
when should I use O3, etc. Although the
Yeah.
naming mechanism at ChatGPT is still awful. Like, how is O3, a, at least in some,
Incredible.
better, more powerful model than the one called 4.0? But anyway, um, I do need to spend more time with these. But even things like GitHub Copilot is now free. It has a free tier now,
Yeah.
but you can
Yeah.
still plug it into your API key at Anthropic.
ChatGPT.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, to use those models more intensely because you're paying for the service. So there's still a massive decision tree for a
Yeah.
lot of people that unfortunately I think has turned into um, a barrier for entry, just like it does for people with crypto, where it's like, okay, well, I want to go use
Yeah.
Ethereum, right? Whatever, just the OG smart
Yeah.
contract chain. Which wallet do I buy? Do I download and use? Good luck. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. I
Good one.
If
Good
somebody
example.
asks me, I will say, one of two or three options. But I have all those three options because sometimes I like to use this one, and sometimes the apps I want to use don't support one of the other ones, which is also
Support.
completely
True. True.
asinine. But yeah, it's a problem. Ultimately, it's like, okay, well, I'll go sign up for ChatGPT just cause, right? Because I know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and 4.0 I think is the default now, so that's good because it's a really good model.
Yeah.
But if you
Good
need to
one.
go
Yeah.
figure, if you want to actually figure out like which one should I use in different scenarios, you gotta either ask ChatGPT or you gotta go look it up somewhere.
Exactly.
And when do I turn on deep research and blah blah blah. Anyway, I
Yeah.
want to make sure we ask a couple more questions
That's nice.
here before we wrap this up. But I'm having a lot of fun. Thank you. This has been really great. Um,
Same here.
I was going through your feed on X and I came across GigaBrain. GigaBrain looks really cool. Can you tell us how you came
Yeah.
across it and explain actually what it is? And it seems like you're probably a team you're advising or involved with somehow. So if so, how what is your involvement there?
Yeah. So, it's a GigaBrain. So the guys who are building the Chetan and Kate, I think I knew them before they started GigaBrain, and because they are devs, so in a couple of projects they had helped, so I knew them. Okay, this is what they were thinking. And in Diamond Hands, I think we do a fair bit of quant trading, so we always have, I would say, understanding of algorithmic trading, whether you want to build on technicals or arbitrage strategies. So I had this, and I've come from corporate banking, investment banking background, so I naturally knew these stuff. And so I think one of those is Chetan just pinged me, hey, I am thinking of building this Bloomberg of crypto, where we have all the information placed in right manner and everyone can figure this out. I think that was the time when AIXBT was kind of pumping up, and if someone is in the space and you knew that it's just not a great model, like you could clearly see they were like it wasn't it's doing as good as it can do, and so these guys started building some very interesting data pipes to aggregate lot of blogs, announcements from the chains, Twitter scraping, stuff like that. And I think at last December or something, where we kind of met on a call and we just kind of brainstormed and said, why don't we use this information to build really smart trading engine? Um, and so at that point, you have two choices, I would say. One is the classical uh, hedge fund kind of choice, where you say, I have these data streams. I will do some machine learning, I will do some back testing, and I will have this models created, which are machine learned and back tested out, right? So that was one approach. And I think what we discussed was like, let's not take that approach, but instead, let's pick an agent first approach. And what this agent will do is kind of replicate how a hedge fund works. So if you have an hedge fund, you will have an agent who is a trader who looks at, let's say, 1 hour horizon. You have someone who looks at 5 hours, let's say 1 day horizon, someone who looks at just macro. So there's a risk manager who would say that, hey, this is the maximum leverage we can take on a portfolio. There's someone who will say that, okay, this is the point where we exit the trade. So that's where our thinking started to emerge, saying that, hey, why don't we create this agent architecture which actually kind of goes and replicates how a hedge fund would run? And because if you build the data pipes right and the agents right, you can just build infinite number of agents who can interact with each other and constantly check and counter check whether this trade or right is wrong. And they will naturally, you can build feedback loops where each trade is logged in and then they can keep on iterating. And the good part about this is because of the LLMs which are there, uh, I think another thing which people miss out is uh, one of the things in which LLMs are extremely good is technical indicators and doing financial data analysis because that's maths and there's enough public data available. So that's something which these guys are extremely, and the output is usually deterministic. So if you ask for an RSI value and how does that work, they will give a precise answer because it's just one answer possible, unlike, let's say, writing something, right? So that's where the journey started saying that, hey, can these agents be powered by LLMs? And so you don't really need to say that, oh, I want to trade in, let's say, 1 hour horizon, and what should be the technical indicator I use. That's like a traditional classic approach. And a trader would say, I like these three indicators, I will trade on that. The AI agent will go through 50 of them on the data pipes, figure out what makes sense, and try to make a trade. And then you give the feedback, oh, this does not work for this asset class. And then you can keep on iterating, keep on iterating. So that's the, I would say, journey which GigaBrain took in, and they've come a significant way. So they spent a lot of time building out these agents, the interactions and validations. Uh, and so people started using terminal for both things. One was their just general information, like if you check about what's happening about RA, what's Bitcoin looking like, one of the agents will come and give you answer. And then they started this alpha feed where you'd constantly get signals to take trade on, and tells you everything like what is the entry price, what is the stop loss, um, what is the leverage ideally you should take, etc., etc. And they have now integrated Hyperliquid, so on one click the order is placed in Hyperliquid. But the interesting part of that is that they also have in the signal and invalidation agent. So let's say you place an order and you go to sleep and the market moves against you. The invalidation agent will figure out that this is not right and it will cancel the order or cut your losses.
Okay.
So it's an all. So you just have. So if you pick a trade, you're okay. I like this token. Virtuals I like, and there's a signal. I can place my bet, and I know if this goes south, I will be out of it. I will never lose complete money on that. So that's the auto trade. And now I think hopefully in next few days they will have this vault live, which is I'm super excited about because ultimately in alpha signals you still have to track those alpha. Like if in a day 10, 20 alpha come, you still have to figure out whether this looks right or wrong and whether I take trade or not. In Vault, this will be done automatically. Hyperliquid vaults, agents will decide. You had great, I would say, initial results on the win rates and stuff, but they are still teaching out from the risk management perspective. But yeah, very exciting because I worked so closely with them as advisor. I think this is one of the few teams I am really bullish on because they understand the agent stack. They understand how this architecture works, and like we discussed at the start, um, super lean team, 4 people, AI first,
Yeah.
so they don't have to really go about chasing VC money because the burn is so low, and they are making revenue. So so that's really so on each trading they get 0.1% fee from Hyperliquid.
Okay.
They did like I think 15 million odd volume till now in like last 10, 15 days. Ensures that their burn is taken care of. So that makes me even more bullish that okay, you don't have to sell tokens or do all kind of things. just steady business which will grow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, at the moment, if you want to get access, you do have to buy 1 million brain tokens, which at the moment of recording costs about $6,600 US. But I'm not going to. I hope I'm not going to share anything that's private. But I guess potentially they could evolve that business model to something a little bit more familiar with others, where perhaps there's either well maybe different tiers, lower buy-in, fewer tokens, perhaps
Yeah,
a subscription model or something like that.
yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan. I think they just consciously don't want to open the subscription plan till lower with a lower price till we are reasonably more confident on the agent architecture and so on. Because once you have, let's say, the alpha group has 200 odd people, and if you have 2,000 people, then it's a very different. You want the agent to be really robust and tested out. Alpha group is one where we keep on taking trades and keep on giving feedback. Like, hey, this did not work well. Some of the people in the group are traders, so they will intuitively say that this agent looks wrong because I know this is wrong, and then they can give that feedback and keep on tweaking it around.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think 1.5 months. I think when they are really confident, I think yeah, that's the way. I think everyone should be able to play with this, and figure out how many, like, for what periods of time you want to play this. Yeah,
No, early adopter stage at this point. Uh, uh, at least for the average person, prohibitive entry point, but maybe on kind of on purpose, just to
yeah,
make sure that these are really serious people who are testing it in the early days. And
exactly.
yeah, like you said, once things are really smoothed out, really confident in the models that they're acting appropriately, etc., then obviously you can drop that entry point. Probably have some sort of limits on the
Yeah,
different tiers, and I think that would be understandable, especially if you're
yeah,
constantly running the bot and you're like 20 or
yeah,
$30 a month. There's the inference has to stop at some point, right? The
yeah,
inference
exactly.
costs. So yeah, no, I get that. That's really cool. Okay, we're coming up to time. I'm gonna have to skip ahead here and ask you, looking ahead, what developments in AI and blockchain excite you the most, and how do you envision integrating them into the things you're building right now, or maybe some of the teams that you're advising?
Uh, I think from an AI perspective, I think it's a known fact. I think super excited to see lower inference costs, smaller. Um, I think not necessarily smaller, but models which can do some narrow work. Like if you give the right context, they can be more efficient. And I think that to me should be very interesting. Where, like you said, people will not get overwhelmed by what model to use. It will just intuitively figure out, okay, for this use case, this is the best response, this is the best model. I think that itself is a big leap. And then imagine that having um, that power in hands of developers where you don't have to call O3 API or 4.0 API. You just give the prompt and the system use case, and it's able to figure out, oh, this looks like a 4.0 case, very high probability answer, makes everything cheaper, faster, more efficient. So I think that trend I'm quite like should be very fun for a lot of builders to and for consumers to do interesting stuff. And blockchain. Uh, I would say in crypto, there are two kind of ways. One is people focusing on AI infra. To be honest, I'm not really convinced on decentralized AI, decentralized infra. Like, um, I have spoken to many folks on this. Like, I just don't know how hardware problems will be solved. Like, how do you sync 10 GPUs in same places if you have inference happening in milliseconds?
Right.
So, like people are not able to sync it in one physical data center and building decentralized infra. To me, I mean, hopefully it should happen. I think it's something which is interesting and to be done, but I'm not sure if I want to. I'm too excited about the infra part of AI and crypto. I think I'm much more excited on the consumer side. Like we can, like I'm sure there will be someone who will just reimagine how e-farming is done using just AI agent and who can interact, who can understand you. Like you don't have to even tell them that. You'll just say, hey, these are my 5 wallets. They will do risk profiling for you. This is what your style is. This is where you are
Right.
overexposed. and I will give you an yield strategy on top of it. And I think that's where I think mass adoptions will happen. And then if we can integrate some of the stuff which you were saying, make wallets creation much easier. People don't have to. We don't have to link their main wallet. Just create a burner wallet where they can play with these agents and
Yeah.
stuff. I think those are very interesting. I think the whole consumer journey. Uh, I think and I have built a website myself, but I'm increasingly thinking like probably you just need to skip this whole web experience. Like you can technically skip out this web experience with this. You don't really, like technically on our side, once wallet is integrated, you can say, hey, who do you want to chat with? What is your use case? And automatically figure out, hey, these are three interesting personas for you, and just go with that. So I think those are the very consumer facing plays. I think should be very. I think we had some Telegram bots and some AI bots on X, but I think they're still rudimentary use cases. I think that should be a lot of fun, I guess.
Yeah. For me, handing control off to a Telegram bot feels icky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Use kind of a
Yeah.
weird word.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm much more comfortable going to a web app or downloading a mobile app and saying, yes, here's here's a connection to my wallet. Here's an allowance to some funds.
Yeah.
You can play with $500. Let's see if you can turn
Exactly.
it into 1,000 or 2,000 in the next few weeks with some smart trades. If so, great. If I'm
Yeah.
down $100, it was a fun experiment, right? Um, but yeah, things like Telegram bots, even Discord bots, it's just I don't like that UX,
That's
I
right.
guess, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I think yeah, you're right. I think it will be web apps or mobile apps which are just conversation first. Like if you just kind of you don't have to uh, tell, hey, I want to do this trading. It will just ask you questions which are intuitive, like, what is your portfolio looking like? What do you want to do out of this? I want to make $1,000 in 3 days. It will say, okay, this is a fairly risky plan, but I will tell you five perp strategies in these five places. If you are okay, do the approvals and I will execute the order
Yeah,
for
yeah.
you. Something like that. That should be very interesting.
That's a future I'm looking forward to. ideally, ideally all on chain too, like deck style. I don't want to put it. I don't even want to put it somewhere else. I would rather give,
Yeah,
like I said, a little bit of access to a certain amount of funds, like I'm trading on a decentralized exchange like Matcha, for example,
yeah,
and those are the
yeah,
funds you can touch, and that's it. So okay.
yeah, for sure.
Sashank, thanks so much. This was a lot of fun. If you want
Same here.
to learn more about you, see what you're saying, where should they go online?
X, I am at Saushank underscore, but X is where you can find me. My DMs are open and I generally respond to them. I love chatting to builders, founders, anyone I can help. So, yeah, that's the place.
Terrific. Everybody else, thank you so much for watching or listening. Until next time, keep exploring the AI rainforest.